Right, people, this is in response to my TV news talkover today that announced the Yorkshire Ripper is dead. So there is a God. Now, in my part one, I explained my job as the hospital orderly, where I fed the Yorkshire Ripper every day and had to report in the book what he were up to at particular times. In that video, I mentioned that the psychiatrist then decided he was schizophrenic and sent him to court to be nutted off. His defence was that he heard voices and everything, and they told him to kill these prostitutes. And that was his defence. It was, and that's what his solicitors argued in court. However, the prosecution fought that, and rightly so, because they believed that he was trying to dodge getting lifed up instead of incarcerated in a nut house. Now, the prosecution fought what his defence was saying about him being schizophrenic and actually got him found guilty and lifed him up accordingly. Now, I believe the first prison he went to from then was Parkhurst. His solicitor appealed against sentence and everything else to try and get it changed to an indefinite term in Rampton. Whilst he was in Parkhurst, I believe it was, he got slashed by Jimmy Boyle, a notorious Scottish robber, come money launderer and everything else, who also complied to the system in the end. Now, everybody big up Jimmy Boyle for slashing him, and full respect to Jimmy Boyle. But he knows what I'm saying when I said he had to conform, otherwise he would still have been in. That's why he changed his ways in Berlin, his special unit, and started talking about places for ex-prisoners and that, for when he got out. Because the times have changed that much. Now, I've got a lot of respect for Jimmy Boyle and all the old villains, because I'm one myself. I'm not going to go into my crimes, and all this is me documenting parts of my life on different sentences and the criminals that I met. Now, like I've said, he was sent to Parkhurst, and then I sort of didn't follow him after that. I just heard every now and again where he was and everything else. And it's because of feeding him in Armley every day and writing in a book that Screws was supposed to be writing, and Screws putting their signature to what I'd wrote, as though it were them that had done the job, what they were supposed to be doing. But they hadn't. It's my handwriting in that book, quite easily checked. All the authorities have to do is get that book from January 1981. D1 Hospital Wing, Armley Prison, and check the Screws who was supposed to be on them particular dates, And you will see it is not the Screw's handwriting. It is mine. Now, like I said, everybody that dealt with Yorkshire Ripper all got psychological treatment after because of atrocities he'd committed and detail he'd told them. But one thing he didn't tell them, but he told me because I was a convict. He couldn't even get a light for his cigarette without me. They wasn't allowed. That were part of the orderly's job. They pressed the bell and we went in and gave him a light. If they gave us any shit, they didn't get no light. Some of them people on that hospital wing were as bad as the Yorkshire Ripper. I needed 5 and 6 officers to unlock just to feed them. I used to have to stand facing the door, a screw on either side of me at front, one ready to unlock the door, and 2 directly behind me. Just inside the cell to the left was where the table was. His bunk was right at the other end of the cell under the window, and he was supposed to sit on the bed. Well, all the ones in the cells had to sit on the bed at far end. And Screw would tell them not to move. He'd unlock the door and let me in. I'd step in, turn to the left and put his food on the table. If he even flinched like he looked like he was going to stand up, I was told I should turn with my back to the wall and just back up to the wall and the screws would come flying in. They'd come flying in, twist them up, drag them out, take them to a strip cell, rip all the clothing off, give them like a nightie, but it was made out of the same material as mail bags are made out of. So they can't rip it or make a noose out of it or anything. And as I've said, Armley Prison is a very cold jail at that time of year. So you can imagine just having that on, no socks, no nothing, no undies, nothing, no bedding, nothing at all. They didn't get no bedding in a strip cell. They only got the blankets at tea time, and then they were took back off them first thing in the morning. All the clothing would be took off them, placed in boxes and put into the cells. When they came out of the cell in the morning, it was my job to put water out, because even a wash had to be supervised. We had to watch that they didn't do anything with razor and take it straight off them as soon as they'd had a shave. I've mentioned this process in one of my earlier Armley videos, but I'd still like to mention it because it is relevant to the new videos that I'm going to be putting up about other prisoners that was in the hospital wing, same time, January 1981. I stayed down the hospital wing, hospital orderly, until I would say mid-81. And then I was shanghaied to Lancaster, the castle. So, like I've said before, one of my commenters have commented thinking I was saying that the Yorkshire Ripper got nutted off straight from court. But I never said that. I said that's what was recommended, which it was. That's what his defence was saying. It was a prosecution who did an excellent job and made sure he didn't get hospitalised and he got lifed up. Not that it has made any difference, because he'd have still been in Rampton now. I believe he did go to Rampton and places later. And then he argued himself back into prison population. But like I said, the slash that were down his face was created by the notorious gangster, robber, extortionist, moneylender from Glasgow, Scotland. Now, I am going to be doing one on Jimmy Boyle, but that's for a later date, and I will be going to Barlinnie to do it. Me and Live Free and Marty Blackburn have just been reporting about the Ripper being taken into hospital from Frankland to County Durham Hospital with coronavirus symptoms, and he said that he was refusing corona treatment because he believed that God would allow him to go to heaven. Well, let me tell you now, Sutcliffe, you are going nowhere. If there is such a thing as life and whatever after death and everything, you're not going to heaven, mate. If there is such a thing as heaven and hell, you're going to hell, mate. Now, as I've said, all others have had psychiatric treatment after that's dealt with him. And what I forgot to mention is what he told me that he didn't tell the police. And you all know, any convict knows, he would talk to me because he sees me as his way to get anything he wants. I'm another inmate, another convict. He talked to us like another convict. In them days, the best reading material were depositions, but he told me verbally he had killed one prostitute and dumped her in a graveyard, and he'd mutilated all the body and everything, and he'd just dumped her, and as he was heading away, he saw police all over. So he laid under a privet hedge and watched police running about and going knocking on doors and that, and waited to get away. 2 days later, there was still no report. There was a report of her being missing, but none that she'd been found dead or anything. So he wasn't very happy about that. Because all schizophrenics want to be caught. All serial killers want to be caught. It's no good being famous and getting called Yorkshire Ripper if nobody knows who you are. They all want to be caught. So he went back to the graveyard, dragged her out more into the open, and mutilated her even further. And he actually laid her out for people to see. Police then found her. Now, I'm going to use this time now to remind you to like, share and subscribe. And there will be a further video going up about the Ripper with other details that I'm putting in another video. So don't forget, please like, share and subscribe. And thank you to that commenter that pointed out it never went to a nut house straight away. I already knew that, mate. And it was going on this video. But I don't know where he went after Parkhurst. So I'm not going to profess to know. I know he later went to a nut house. He got nutted off. And they kept him in like Rampton and other nut houses around country for a while. And then he fought himself to be placed back in population. And I believe that's what happened, how he come to be back in normal prison population. Anyway, thank you for your time and your comments. And don't forget to share and subscribe. Thank you very much.